Hello, lovely people. Happy New Year's Eve. I had to think about that for a second. It's the end of the year. We're about to say goodbye to 2024. I'm having to think a bit about all of this today. Where am I? Yeah, Happy New Year's Eve, everybody. I hope you are well. I am well, thank you. Just really looking forward to next year. More of that in a minute. Now, just quickly before I forget, because hopefully you'll see this in time, at least by midnight tonight, made a note. Let's do the practical stuff first. Go and read your meters, your gas and electricity meters, and submit a reading, because from the 1st of January, prices are going up again. So just get your reading done tonight to make sure the company doesn't do an estimate for you and you end up paying the higher price for the last few days. Good. Oh yeah, note to self. Need to remember to do that myself. Of course, if you've got smart meters, you don't need to. So I don't need to do it with my electricity because that's a smart meter now, but I do need to do it with my gas meter. Oh, and also just on that subject, do you remember, I can't remember, obviously it must have been mid-November or so, and I said that I'd built up credit through the summer for my energy consumption, as in I've been overpaying. I thought, oh, maybe I can allow myself, instead of a couple of hours of heating a day, 4 hours, so 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening, for example. So I've done that, and I had a whole month of that to then be able to submit the new meter reading and calculate how much I'd used, etc., etc. And I'm still quite a bit within my credit, so I could up it a bit more. So that was based on 4 hours, so maybe I can go to 5 or 6 hours. Brilliant. So I'll continue to do that while I'm here, but of course in my next place, because the next place is a bit bigger than here. This flat is, I think I've got 510 square feet here, and the next place I think is 650 square feet. So it's about the size of this place, but add on another kitchen, as it were. So obviously with that place, I've got no idea how much it's going to cost to heat, because not only is the space bigger, but obviously being on the ground floor, the ceilings are higher. So there's more cubic meterage, cubic footage, however you want to put it. So the point is, I'm not going to go mad and spend all my credit over the next few weeks while I'm here, because the bills are almost certainly, I mean, they're just going to have to be higher in the next place because it's a bigger space to heat. I was going to start talking about the next, but I'll leave that for now. Anyway, so yes, get your meter readings done. Now, gosh, where do I want to start today? I've made all sorts of little notes about things I've enjoyed this year, and resolutions. Let's start with resolutions, because I was thinking about this the other day. I'm not really one for doing resolutions. What's the difference between a resolution and a plan? No, that's not a joke. A vicar. I'm definitely one for, well, you know me, I'm a planner. I think it's more, I have dreams, and the way to make a dream a reality is to make something a goal. So instead of being up here and a bit ephemeral, it becomes a bit more tangible if you make the dream a goal. And to make a goal happen, you then plan. And you plan a series of steps to get yourself to your goal. I suppose resolutions are a bit like that, aren't they? Except I think the ones, I mean, we all know that acronym, don't we? SMART, in terms of goals. I can't remember what SMART stands for though. But it's all about, you know, what I'm trying to say is, if you say to yourself, my New Year's resolution next year is I'm going to run a marathon. I don't currently run. I'm not a runner, but my goal, my resolution next year is I want to run a marathon. It's kind of almost meaningless. So the goal would be, I'm going to follow a couch to 5K program. So it's specific. Is that the S from SMART? It's specific. I'm going to follow a couch to 5K program. I'm going to start it on the 2nd of January because I know that on that day I've got the time. And it's probably going to take me from January through till March, and I'm going to follow this specific program so that after 3 months I can run for 5,000 meters. I can run continually. I might not be fast, but I can run continually. And then at that point, if that's if that's achievable, you might say, okay, it's taken me 45 minutes is a long time to run a 5K. So over the next 3 months, I want to improve my time. So April, May, June, I'm going to work on my time. I'm not going to get into specifics with running. There are running programs to follow, but there are things you can do to improve your time. And then at the end of that 3-month period, do another 5K race. And oh, you've brought your time down to 32 minutes. Great. Okay, the next step might be to bring it under 30. But the next step then would be to say, I'm going to start extending my runs. The bottom line is, if you make a New Year's resolution, I'm going to run a marathon, and you've never run before, you can't possibly achieve all those miles without starting right at the bottom. Am I making sense? I think I'm making sense. So yeah, I don't do resolutions so much as I've got a goal in mind and I plan towards it. So obviously for me, the big goal for the last few years actually has been to move. So if your New Year's resolution is say a financial one, you might be saying to yourself, I'm going to have a no spend January. Great. But that doesn't mean right now at the end of December you go out and buy a ton of stuff to see you through January, because all you're doing with that is you've taken all your January spending and done it in December. And actually probably, most of us are broke at the end of December anyway, after Christmas. But yeah, if your resolution is a financial one, whether it be a no spend January, or it's your New Year's resolution is to put £100 into saving each month, rather than just thinking it's that ephemeral thing again of, I'm going to save 100 quid every month. Ask yourself why. Why do you want to save that money? What's it for? Is there a specific reason? So it comes back to that SMART thing again, doesn't it? Be specific. So rather than that resolution of, I'm going to try and save more this year. Be specific. I'm going to save £100 every month, and I know what it's for. It's so that at the end of the year, we can buy new fridge freezer. Oh God. Oh yeah. Anyway, more of that in another video. It might be that you want to pay off debt, whatever it is. Make it as specific as possible and know what your goal is, because if you've got a really strong goal, it makes the task of saving easier. So in my situation, I've been saving so hard for so many years, and there are times when it's not fun. Honestly, there are times when I think, I just want to splurge, I just want a night out or what. But because I know what the goal is, and it's such a fantastic goal for me, it makes the difficult times a bit easier, and it makes the easy times really easy. It's become a no-brainer, an absolute habit for me. I live with that little bit of money. The rest of it is going in the funds. I've got funds for this, funds for that, funds for everything, and it's all about the new home. And once I get there, well, I'll come to that again in a second. But yeah, back to the resolutions thing. I was thinking about how so often resolutions, they're sort of, there's almost a negative tone to them in terms of it's about giving things up. And of course some things are really good to give up, like giving up smoking, brilliant. But it's still, you know, like weight loss, you know, so many people, hands up if you've done it in the past, so many people, a New Year's resolution is, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to give up eating cakes, I'm going to give up eating biscuits, I'm going to give up, I made notes, yeah. Like I said, there's, sorry, my brain isn't working very well today, I don't know, I think I'm still, I'm a bit sleep deprived still. That's coming from the next video. Yeah, that negative tone of giving something up. Whereas for me, at any rate, for me it's not so much about giving things up, it's more about having stuff coming in. It's the positive. So it's about enrichment. So rather than giving things up and deprivation, it's about enrichment. So I jotted down a few ideas, not necessarily for me, but for other folk, and some for me. And maybe the two can be in tandem. So if you are, say, okay, perfect example, if you want to give up smoking, that's giving something up. How about a resolution that's also enriching, like starting a new craft, or getting back to a craft which you haven't done for ages, giving yourself the time and the space to do that craft you love. And if it's a craft, of course, that's great because you're using your hands, and it's that thing of, you know, you're not going to be putting a ciggy to your mouth. Your hands are occupied. You can't smoke when you're doing a craft. So, yeah, an enriching thing alongside a giving up thing. But even if you're not giving up, say, smoking, like you say, even with the diet, if you find that of an evening, you know, out of boredom, you're reaching for biscuits and snack type junky food to nibble on whilst you're watching telly, for example, or watching a film, better to, so yeah, you're going to say, I'm going to give up the biscuits. That's got that slight negative tone, but I'm going to have the enrichment of doing something else with my hands whilst I'm watching telly. So, you know, knitting, crochet, sewing, whatever it is. If you're a complete beginner at the craft, you may have to listen to your telly rather than watch it, because your head's going to be down. I'm doing that action. I look like I'm feeding myself. You know, your head's going to be down as you're learning to knit. Telly's over there. Other enriching things. I'm going to have a goal of, I'm going to read a book a month. If you're already reading, I'm going to read a book a week. Again, maybe it's tied in with, that could be tied in with quitting something. Your New Year's resolution might be to simply say, I want to give up spending my entire evening watching telly. Okay, giving up something, but let's enrich with something else. A book, your crafts, whatever it is. I'm going to make, this is a nice resolution, goal. I'm going to use Sundays, or any day, whichever day works best for you, as my one day of the week that I spend catching up with friends. If you're like me, you'll have friends all over the world and all over the country. It's impossible to meet up face to face regularly, so I like on one of the weekend days, whichever works out better for me, that's one of my days where I can say, right, I can be on the phone for 2 hours with a friend. I can't manage all my friends in one Sunday, but you know, literally every Sunday I go through a sort of a rota of my friends having a bit of a catch up. But again, it's that thing of, it's a resolution, goal, whatever you want to say, however you want to phrase it, that's enriching rather than taking something away from your life. It's putting something in that's good. Learn a new recipe. And you might say, I'm going to learn one new recipe every month or even every week. You know, think about it. If you learn a new recipe every month, and especially for those of you who are thinking about having a slightly more frugal year next year, perhaps you've been kind of looking at your finances and thinking, oh, I mean, let's face it, the cost of living, you know, the cost of everything is going up, but our incomes are not necessarily going up. Some incomes are actually going down. So you might have been looking at your finances thinking, eek, things are getting really tight. What could be better than learning 12 recipes? So this is why I say you might want to do it once a week, but learn 12 really frugal recipes that are, you know, nutritious, that are really good for you, but that you can kind of knock out fairly quickly. You know, any meal that you can get together in sort of half an hour, maybe a bit longer if it's a little bit fancier. Yeah, learn those recipes, bring them into your repertoire, because obviously the more often you do them, then you don't need to follow. Initially you'll be following a recipe, but eventually you'll just be chucking it all together without having to think twice about it. And hopefully by choosing those more frugal recipes, your shopping basket will change a bit, and you'll just find it a little bit easier in terms of the finances to, you know, fill your shopping basket. That's a great resolution goal. But I was also thinking, is it getting chilly in here? I've got plenty of layers on. Just put my cardi over my knees. I don't know why I thought this. Oh, I know what. I'd seen a news item. It was on the computer and it kept coming up, and I thought, and I was thinking again about this negative, positive, how we can flip things around. And I saw this a couple of days on the run, and I thought, why is this coming up in my newsfeed? Because it's not anything I've looked into. You know, sometimes the newsfeed is based on anything you might have been Googling or searching. Came up on my newsfeed twice, and the headline was, the most common thing people say on their deathbed. Why is my newsfeed giving me this? And I thought, I'm not going to read the articles, I don't want to know. It's probably, oh no, the news, the headline was, you know, it's one of those really annoying ones that, like, I work with dying people, and this is the one regret they always say. Suddenly it's like experts coming out of the woodwork all the time. I'm a home designer, and this is the one thing you must have in your kitchen. I'm a hair expert, and this is the one shampoo you must use. Go away. Anyway, deathbed regrets. That's what these headlines were. And I thought, let's make that positive. Let's make that positive for a minute. And by the way, I don't mean this in a maudling way. I don't want to trigger anyone. This is about now, not deathbeds. But I was thinking, we always talk about, the regrets on deathbed. Why do we never focus on what's made us happy? So if I was on my deathbed, what's made me happy in my life? And if I think about the things that have made me happy, never mind waiting until my deathbed to think about them now, and then they may become part of a New Year's resolution. For example, so I wrote down all the things which I thought, if I was on my deathbed, what would I say has made me happy in my life? As an exercise, as a mental exercise, try it. So I said, and this is not an exhaustive list by any means, I just scribbled these things down. I said, the things that have made me happy in my life are my friends. First and foremost, friends. Friendship, companionship, cuddles and kisses. I said cuddles and kisses. That's been the joy of my life so far. Bathing in the sea. Oh, that's a joy. Bathing in my bathtub. I love bathing in my bathtub. I'm going to miss my bathtub. Bathing in the bathtub and all the associated things with that, like scents. And I was thinking how much I love scent. I'm not into perfume, but there are certain smells, I love those woody smells, cedarwood, sandalwood, patchouli, of how scent can make me so happy and relaxed. Books, of course. I surround myself with the thing that makes me happy. Wool socks, especially when they're hand knitted. That's something in my life that's made me happy. And you know, maybe stems all the way back to my grandma, because my grandma was a voracious knitter. She was never without knitting. And, you know, there's only so many jumpers my granddad needs. So my grandma, for want of knitting something, anything, that's how she was like, is someone having a baby? Quick, find me someone who's having a baby. I want to knit a layette set. Oh, that's an old-fashioned thing, isn't it? A layette set. Is that the right word? I'm sure it was layette, where it's that kind of set of knitted garments for the baby at birth. So there'll be a little cap, booties, the mittens to stop him scratching, maybe a vest, and the first little jumper, a layette set. I'm sure that's what it was called. Yeah, but anyway, so back to my nan. So she would, I mean, she just used to knit blanket after blanket after blanket and send them off to, you know, to whatever charity needed blankets for whatever reason. But socks were the other thing. She was a master sock maker. So using 3 knitting needles, you know, the ones without the ends on, knitting on a triangle, she just knit a pair of socks in an evening, turn that heel immaculately. Amazing. So right from an early age, grandma's socks were just special. They were ordinary, but they became special. And so much so that at my grandma's funeral, it made me laugh. None of us grandchildren had gotten together and talked about this in advance. So she had 4 grandchildren, me and my sister and my 2 cousins. All 4 of us turned up to the funeral with a pair of her socks, because we were all gonna say a few words about grandma, and we'd all had the same idea. We all brought grandma's socks. Anyway, so yeah, socks, woolen socks, hand knitted socks are one of the things in life that makes me happy. I have my lovely Christmas socks from Sarah and Ian. Oh, I've had so many socks from you guys over the years. I love it, because they do wear out, no matter how much I darn them. But yeah, carrying on with things that have made me happy in my life. Summer makes me happy. Lap it up while it's here. Bees in the garden. That makes me happy. Gardening itself, having my hands in the dirt. Oh, kissing. I sounded like Nessa then, didn't I? Oh, gardening. Kissing a horse's nose. Kissing a horse's nose makes me happy. Harvesting my own vegetables. Anyway, I was scribbling away, and I could have gone on and on and on with this list of, you know, things that have made me happy. Hang on, I'm going to pick my list up again. When we think about the things that make us happy, how much time do we give on a day-to-day basis? How much time do we give ourselves to either do or experience? Some of these aren't doing, they're more feeling, whatever. How much time do we give ourselves to do these things? So that's a little challenge for you all today, after you've watched the video, is make a list, however long, however short you fancy. Just open your mind, don't think about it too much, but just start scribbling a list. What are the things in life that make me happy? Scribble away your list. And when you've done your list, things that make me happy, pretty handkerchiefs. This is my lovely Cath Kidston London one. Let me show you. That makes me happy. Pretty handkerchiefs make me happy. Yeah, make your list, have a little look at it, and then afterwards ask yourself, these things that make me happy, have any of them slipped off my radar? Have I stopped doing one of these things? Either because of, you know, we all have all sorts of time commitments, don't we? It might be family. I know a lot of us are of an age now where we've got, you know, elderly relatives. I mean, until recently I had grandparent age elderly relatives, but perhaps for some of you, because I know some of you are a bit older than me, it's elderly parents. So look, I know that people have a lot of time commitments, but maybe there are things that we are giving time to, which we could say, is that really what I want to give my time to? Once you've got your list, if I look at my list and think about kissing a horse on the nose, having a swim in the sea and reading, well, hang on a minute. Do I really want to be, this isn't the case for me, but do I really want to spend my evenings watching soap operas? Now, it might be that soap operas are the thing that makes you happy. So, yeah, do it. But maybe you've, like I said, you've just slipped into habits of doing stuff without thinking. It's about mindfulness as well, all this, isn't it? You do things out of habit and you get stuck in a rut. So maybe it's time to think about what makes you really happy and make a New Year's resolution or goal, make a plan to bring back into your life more of the things that make you happy and to jettison some of the stuff that's become boring and mundane and you've just slipped into the habit of doing it. It's something to think on, isn't it? Okay, so now talking of telly and watching soap operas, I don't follow any of the soaps. I've generally found, I mean, look, it's just not my cup of tea, really, or my cup of water. It's not my cup of tea, but also I find that they're on at the time of day. I think they're generally on at sort of 7:30, 8-ish in the evening. Generally, I'm doing stuff at that time anyway. I'm still doing stuff. And if it's the summer on my list, I'm in the garden at that time of day. I want to be in the garden until it's dark. But yeah, each to their own. But a couple of the things that I have watched and enjoyed recently, and this is funny because I just watched Richard and Paul's Sunday chat, and they do a little TV review at the end of each Sunday, but they were mentioning some of the Christmas specials. They didn't like them, and I loved them. I was like, hang on, how are we friends? Because they really didn't like some of the stuff that I really did like. So I loved the Gavin and Stacey finale. Brilliant. It was just felt like being with friends again. It was a joy to see. Didn't particularly enjoy Outnumbered. I thought it fell flat. Now I really enjoyed the Great or the British Pottery Throwdown, the Pottery Throwdown. I haven't watched the normal series of it for ages. I got a bit bored, frankly, because it's the same format. I really love the presenters, the Keith and I've forgotten the other guy's name, never mind. But anyway, I just got a bit bored of it and I was doing other stuff. But I did watch the Christmas special, and for me, the enjoyment came from, it was a celebrity one, you know. Oh, I'm doing Nessa again. Oh, that's Nessa. It was Martin Kemp, you know, from Spandau. God, he's such a beautiful man. I mean, you know, physically to look at. Yeah, it's those eyes. Anyway, I mean, I don't fancy him. He's just beautiful. What I found enjoyable about it was, unlike the regular series, which is a competition and someone gets knocked out each week, more of that in a second, they were, it's my studio lights just died. I charged that for 8 hours. I wonder if there's something wrong with it. Yeah, I charged it for 8 hours and it's gone after, half an hour? Anyway, they were just, all these subs, it was like they were kids again because they were just playing with the clay. That's such an important thing it doesn't have to be perfect. And because it's not a competition, although one of them wanted to win, actually it was Martin Kemp really wanted to win, it sort of doesn't matter. What mattered was just enjoying the process, being in the moment. We're coming back to mindfulness again. Doing it for the sake of doing it and enjoying just being in it. I loved that. It was sparking my creative juices. I mentioned this. Did I mention it at I mentioned it at Christmas, didn't I? About all sorts of ideas for videos once I've moved of crafting and making things and watching pottery throwdown. I was scribbling notes. My notepad's actually on the sofa. Okay, I'm going to digress for a minute. It's my show, I'll digress if I want to. That book, remember I had a book for Christmas in 2023 from, off the top of my head, was it Sue in Canada? I've got your name wrong, I'm really sorry. And that book, I said I'm going to keep this for my new home. And that's what I've done. And it's a notebook, a little spiral bound notebook. And in the first half of it, I've been jotting down things to remember to do before I leave here, things to remember to set up at the next place, boring practical things, but also notes on, because I know the kitchen layout, even though I'm going to change the kitchen a bit, all the different cupboards, right, how I'm going to use the cupboards, divvy up, do I need more cupboards, do I need less cupboards? But the back of that notebook has become a whole series of ideas. It's all about creativity, of things I want to do, ideas I want to explore, things I want to make once I've moved. I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself. I'll come back to telly in a minute. There are how to explain it. One of my problems for the last few years is I don't lack creativity, I don't lack ideas. I've always lacked time. So why, when you move, Vivi, are you going to have any more time? Because you're not, nothing's really changing. The big thing, and this is where my time, suddenly I will have time to explore all these ideas, is not having the allotment. That's the big time breaker. It's the time thief. And you might say, oh, but you're going to have a garden. Yeah, I am. But A, it's tiny, and B, it's out my back door, so there's no commuting to the allotment. And therefore you might say, well, why didn't you get on with some of these things this year then? Because you gave up the allotment in March. The fact is, for the rest, yeah, I gave up the allotment, but the rest of this year has been filled up with, house hunting, doing stuff to the flat, other work. There's been so much going on, and not all of that will disappear once I've moved too. So, that notebook, it's in two halves now. The front half is the purely practical things that I must do, need to do with the move and once I'm in, and the back half is all the creative dreams. But now they're written down, they're the creative goals, and once I'm actually moved, then I'll break it down further to make it into a creative plan. See, it's all tying in together. It's all going to tie into a really nice, neat bow today. Back to what I was talking about with the telly. I really enjoyed the Great Pottery Throwdown, and like I said, it got my creative juices flowing, and so there are some notes in that book. I'm pointing that way because it's on my sofa. Thoroughly enjoyed the programme. I don't know whether I will watch it when a new series comes, because like I said, it's that competition thing, the format, whatever, which neatly segues me to something else I watched this year. Discovered it by accident. Thoroughly enjoying it. It's on Sky Arts. Now, Sky Arts is the one you can watch for free. You don't have to sign up to Sky for however much. I don't know how much it costs for a Sky package. It's free, Sky Arts. And the programme, I think this is what it's called, Bill Bailey's Masterclass. And this series, so the premise of the series is they have a master craftsperson, and then they have three, not necessarily young, because some people take a craft up later in life, but three novice crafters, if you like, in that same field of craft. And they come to a barn, the master crafts person gives them a lesson in that craft. The three of them then go off to produce their own piece, and the master kind of comes around to each of them, giving them advice, giving them ideas as they're working on it, and they all produce a piece by the end of the show. And there's no competition, there's no knockout, it's a different craft each week. And I think that's what I loved about it, that they're doing it to develop their craft, and they're doing it to learn, not to win something. They're doing it for the joy and the love of their craft. So the series I watched, there's one more for me to see. I think there's 4 in the series. I can't remember what the 4th one was, forgive me, but the ones I watched were mosaic making. And we're not just talking like a garden tabletop, stick a few bits of old crockery and plaster. This mosaicist, unbelievable. Oh, and in each show we then go off and see this craft done brilliantly in situ somewhere. So for the mosaic one, we went to St Paul's Cathedral. Stunning mosaics in the ceiling. So enjoyed the mosaic one to a degree, but it's not massively a craft that I don't particularly love that craft. I admire it, like at St Paul's Cathedral, but I would never really want to do it. The one that I really enjoyed, actually, there's one I really enjoyed, but the really enjoyed one was the stone carving. That was gorgeous. That sound of stone carvers at work, that chipping away. So they were going to produce a sort of a gargoyle, but not necessarily a really grotesque one. That was gorgeous. I need to have about 75 lifetimes to do and try all the things. I would love to try stone carving. Hats off. I had the most wonderful serendipitous kind of one of those moments in life that is just pure luck that happened. I'd gone to Westminster Abbey, which is in central London. It's just across the road from the Houses of Parliament, and got a bit lost, went into a bit of a side yard. I think a bit of misdirection. I think I might have been looking for a lavatory or something. And it's the stonemason's yard. Because I think it's sort of perpetually being restored. But yeah, I went into the stonemason's yard, was having a look around, and got chatting to one of the stonemasons. It's like, actually, sorry, the stonemasons and the stone carvers, stonemasons, they're the ones who, for sort of big square bits, they dress the stone and, make I think stonemasons are involved with the tracery. Tracery, if you don't know what tracery is, it's the intricate stone, almost like doilies, which then the stained glass gets set into. Anyway, sorry, I'm digressing. It was bound to be a digressy day. Anyway, the long and the short was, having got chatting, got taken up on the roof. It was amazing. It was amazing. Firstly, to see that bit of London, which is so familiar to me, to see it from the height. But what an extraordinary experience. Thank you. Did I ever get his name? I don't know. But anyway, thanks for taking me on the roof, if you're watching. So back to Bill Bailey. So there was the stone carving one. And then the one that I really loved was letterpress. I love design, I love graphic art. So to see the letter presses at work, this is, arranging letters in a wooden tray. So thinking yes, newspapers, how newspapers used to be set, but in more recent times, sort of making posters, that very graphic, I'm not explaining it. Yeah, graphic art. That was gorgeous, and I was watching that one thinking, I want my own letterpress. Oh, lino cuts, printing. Oh, I want to do printing. So yeah, lovely to watch these programs and to feel excited and inspired to try and have a go at something myself. Not quite sure how or when. Night school, maybe that's a great New Year's resolution goal, is to do a class at night school. So when I first moved to this area, when was it? It was 2000 I moved to the area, lived in a different flat first. I part of the reason for moving to the area was because a bestie had moved here, and I was looking to move anyway, and I couldn't afford, I was still in West London at that point, too spenny. So headed down here, liked the area. She sort of said, why don't you have a look? Had a look, liked it. Lots of parks, because of course I had Charlotte Bronte. But I didn't really know anyone, so I joined a night school class because I thought, apart from anything, it'll help me to make friends in the area, and it did. I made a really good friend. So I did calligraphy, so I learnt calligraphy, went to night school for a year, and then did my City and Guilds exams in calligraphy. Loved it. So yeah, maybe a night school class or a day school if you're retired. There might be day school. I think it's that thing in life, isn't it? It's just be open, let things inspire you, let things excite you, and then do something about it. Go out and try it. So one of the other things I've enjoyed over time, and I watched, again, they had a Christmas special with celebs, Lego Masters. I love Lego Masters. Actually, even when it's at the competition stage, that's one where I don't mind it being a competition. I love that show so much. It's a brilliant coming together of two of my passions, engineering and design, mashed up. And you've got engineering, design and play. It's the perfect triumvirate, isn't it? Wow. I mean, they just do the most extraordinary things. The series I've just watched is I think it was called Lego Masters Grand Masters. So from the previous 5 series, they took a couple of couples. They always work in couples. A couple of couples from each. How many did they start with? Was it 8 or 10? Doesn't matter. But they've already won Grand Masters. They've already won Lego Masters, and now this is the Grand Master. Unbelievable. I love it. I absolutely blooming love it. And also on the subject of kind of my slightly nerdy things is this is much earlier in the year. I've always been a massive fan of The Big Bang Theory. Love it. I think one of the reasons, I find it funny, I think one of the reasons I love it so much is the characters are brilliant. But the cast is fantastic. And also even the smaller sort of outlying characters which sometimes pop in from time to time, all the characters are, those writers are geniuses. Genii. Brilliant. And the actors. So when Big Bang finished, I was a bit like, ooh. Of course it's repeated all the time. And I watch episodes over and over again. But then, of course, along came young Sheldon. Again, a genius idea. Let's take us, because this character of Sheldon is obnoxious, mad, whatever, but we love him. What was he like as a child? Great idea. So I thoroughly enjoyed young Sheldon. But for me, the joy of young Sheldon was the female characters, these long-suffering women who had to put up with Sheldon. So there's Meemore, the grandma, his mum, and my absolute favourite, that actress, I've just called her an actress, I don't want to say actor, but that actress, the young lass who played Sheldon's twin sister, Missy, brilliant. I love her so much. All that sass and sarcasm, she's just my kind of girl. I always used to watch it thinking, if I was little, I'd want her as my best friend. We'd get in so much trouble and we'd just sark our way out of everything. But in the UK this year, probably in the US, she had it the year before us. It was the final series. I didn't see most of it, but I'm going to get emotions. It's just characters. I did watch the last 2 episodes and I thought they did it brilliantly. Anyone who's watched Big Bang will know that Sheldon's father died when he was young. So then when we're watching young Sheldon, we know at some point that his father's going to die. And yes, I cried like a baby. It's an escapist cry. It does us good. It's cathartic, isn't it? Yeah, I thought they did it. They did the whole... in those 2 episodes, I thought they did justice to the entire franchise, as it were, in terms of both Big Bang and Young Sheldon. Just perfectly, in that moment, done. And I hope there are no more, that was another telly I was going to talk about. I hope there's no more spin-offs. I think that's enough. I don't see what they could do. But yeah, loved every second of it. Cried. Loved every second of all the series of both shows. And cried like a baby at the very end of the last one. So, a little interruption. I just had to put my cardigan on. Yeah, it's definitely starting to feel a bit chilly. I've been talking for a while, so I'll start to wrap up. I think, you know, undoubtedly, the biggest thing for me at this eve of a whole new year is, it's not just the eve of a new year for me, it's the eve of a whole new chapter. I might get a bit emotional. It's high time, because the last sort of 4 or 5 years I found quite tough, in all honesty. I've kept a lot of it, I've tried to keep most of it off camera, but there's just been, it's been tough, and there's been a lot of change, and you know, things have happened that, I mean, you know, Auntie Teapot and my sister and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, there've been times when financially I've thought this is scary, and, you know, then getting ill, starting 2022 in hospital and all that sort of thing. And I think also, I don't want to dwell on this point, but sort of coping with everything and managing everything on my own. And I know there's lots of you out there who live on your own too, but I don't have anyone in the vicinity. You know, there's no family, there's so little support. So going through various crises and difficult times and having no one, it's exhausting, actually. It is exhausting. So this, I'm really looking forward to next year, because I feel like I can close a chapter that's not just this year, that's on a few years now of just things being tough. And that's not to say there won't be tough times in the future, but it's just felt like it's one tough thing after another. So I can't wait. Now, some changes have already happened this year, of course. I quit the plot. Handed that back in, well, officially I handed it back at the end of March, but of course they said, no hurry, come and go. So I think my last proper visit was back in August. I've been down a couple of times just to see folk, but the fact was, because I decided that I was giving it up back in October of 2023, by the time this year came round, yeah, it was, you know, I was a little bit sad, but I wasn't weepy at all. I didn't, you know, it was fine. I was fine. And I knew why I was giving it up. I was giving it up for a good reason. my legs were absolutely knackered, and I really couldn't afford to spend any more time on it when I needed to spend time on stuff at the flat. I needed to spend time house hunting. So I was more than happy to hand it back. That was absolutely fine. I needed the time for other things, and wow, that's been such a relief. I didn't realise, I didn't know beforehand quite what a relief it would be to get rid of that responsibility. It's been huge. You know, house hunting, I did start looking in, Nikki, I was 23. I did start looking in the summer of 2022. That's when I first started looking at properties. I had to think back, because at that time my sister was helping me, sending me just random flat details in random places. What about this? What about this? She was so excited for me. And obviously it all went on hold in 2023, because obviously she became everything. But yeah, coming back to this year, giving up the plot, brilliant. I've got time now to do, you know, because house hunting takes ages. It just takes up time, plus getting my own place ready. So, yeah, so this is about the changes to come. So, happy to give the plot up, And I knew in my mind that wherever I moved to when I was house hunting, that it had to have some outside space. It didn't matter if it was small, what I've got is small, just so long as I could sit outside at some point in the day, and even if I only have 3 pots to put plants in, give me a tiny bit of soil and a bit of outdoor space. So again, with giving up the plot, I thought, I know I'm doing it. And back to the resolutions thing, it was the goal. I'm giving up the plot in order to free me up to pursue my goal of a new home with some outside space. And that's what I'm mentioning a little bit earlier in the video, that idea of all these creative things I want to do. Can't wait. I'm so excited. That's why I'm so excited for this next chapter, is I can leave behind some of the stuff that wasn't great in the last few years. Oopla. And just look forward to my life that will have a different look and a different feel to it. I'm not going to say, look, I am not as a person going to, it's like, you know, at the stroke of midnight, we don't suddenly become a different person. I say that every year about New Year's. We don't suddenly become a different person who is creative and goes running every morning and eats all the right food every day, you know. Likewise, this new chapter for me, I'm not going to be a new person. It's just that I'm going to live in a slightly different way, and that will be, you know, it'll certainly be new for sharing with you guys. So I'm so looking forward to having that bit of time back that I used to give over entirely to growing my own food. The other huge thing, this is going to be really big for me, and I'm really excited, is the fact that I'll be able to live on a bit more money because I won't be saving so hard. Now, I will always be a saver, and I think anyone on a small income, excuse me, I think whoever you are, but those of us on a small income in particular, we really do need to save because, I mean, look, I've just lost appliances. We never know when we're going to need a bit of cash. And as I said, making the lavender bags, I'm really grateful that I've got skills that I can use to make something to generate some extra income. But yeah, I am going to continue to save. I will always save, but I won't have to save as much. I won't have to be quite so, like, really, really rigid about my spending. And I'm looking forward to some of the freedoms that will give. I think what it boils down to is one of the reasons I'm excited for moving is there will be 2 pressures that will come off me a bit, and that is financial pressure and time pressure. So those are lifting a bit, and that's, such a relief. I hope I haven't spoken too soon. I hope I don't meet any disasters which need a lot of money along the way. I mean, I know what disasters are waiting for me. I'll tell you about that once we're there. But yeah, it's I feel, I just keep coming back to it. I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm excited to just finish some business which has been irksome and not great, and fly into, it's like a release in a way, I suppose. I feel like this move is helping to release me. I'm being released into the wild. I'm not. Still going to be living with neighbours and noise and cars, and I'm not in the wild. I'm not putting it very well. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. I'm pleased, don't worry, I'm not. Some people may think I'm setting too much store in this move, that, you know, life's not going to change that dramatically simply by moving. No, it's not. Of course it's not. But time and money, 2 big things which constrain us, those things are going to change. So that is bound to produce change. That makes sense, doesn't it? I am making sense. I'm making sense to me. Anyway, yeah, look. I still don't have a date. I mean, the fact is, I'm not going to get a date at the moment because the solicitors are all off. They take 2 weeks off over Christmas and New Year. I think I'm not going to hear anything before the 6th of January, I think, is when they all come back to work. And yeah, it's a bit of a weird time at the moment because it's even weirder than it was a couple of weeks ago, because I know that we must surely be getting nearer. But I mean, I can't plan for anything. I suppose what I can't plan too far in advance with anything. I was thinking, you know, about all this. There's all sorts of cooking bits and things I want to do with you all. Obviously, I have to wait for the new fridge and freezer before well, that's another story you'll see in the next video. But what I'm trying to say is, how much food do I cook and have in the freezer if then, you know, a couple of days later they say, right, it's happening in a week? Because once they say go, then it'll be really, really quick. So I don't want to put, what I'm trying to say is, I don't want to put too much food in the freezer, because when it happens, it'll happen quickly and then I can't take freezer food with me. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. For now, it's still 2024. I still haven't moved. I still need to just carrying on, which I will do. I've got the lavender bags to finish sewing, so that's going to take up quite a bit of time. I know folk were asking about them. I don't think they're going to be ready for a couple of weeks yet, and I'm really sorry I can't take pre-orders, purely because, and it happens each time I put them on sale, I get people asking if they can pre-order, and then I get asked for so many pre-orders there aren't enough. I don't know how to do it fair, but I will let you know in good time on here. I might put a thing in the community section. I always forget that exists. But yeah, I've got plenty to keep me busy going into the next few weeks until it happens. Should we just call it that from now on? The move. I have no news about it. We need code names, don't we? We need code words and what have you. Right, I'm waffling. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this year. And for a few of you out there, thank you so much for hanging out with me for what is now it's coming up for 8 years. It'll be 8 years in March since I declared to the world that I'm going to live for a year without a wage. That's mad, isn't it? But yeah, thank you for hanging out with me. I mean this genuinely, that when I'm having my little chat through this camera, I picture you, I imagine you, I feel like you're here, we're just all hanging out together, having a natter, and I really, really enjoy what comes back from you in comments. Well, mostly enjoy what comes back in the form of comments. So thank you. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. I hope you will all, I'm getting ready to cheers you. It's just you can't. That's stupid, Vivi. It's just water. I promise you it's just water. Yeah, I hope, look, no miracles happen at midnight, but I hope, if nothing else, you can sort of have a mental one. If it hasn't been the best time, I hope you can draw a line in the sand, as it were, and feel like you take a deep breath tomorrow, start with good purpose, and convince yourself, tell yourself, it's going to be a good year. I'm going to do this, I'm going to achieve this, I'm going to plan for this, I'm going to allow my creativity to go wild, whatever it is. And if you've had a great year this year, may it continue into next year. Let's not forget, some people have a great year. Whatever. I wish you all very well on this New Year's Eve 2024. Here's to a fantastic 2025 to all of us, and I cannot wait. I can't wait. It's driving me insane. I cannot wait to bring you along to the cottage on the floor. I've got to, you know, someone nicknamed this the cottage in the sky years ago. I've got to come up with a pithier title for my new home than the cottage on the ground. We'll see. Maybe you will all help me with the naming when it happens. Until then, until next year, Please look after yourselves, stay well, stay happy, stay mindful and in the moment whenever you can. I will see you on the other side. For now, cheerio.